Hardline water cooling, RGH 3.0 and dynamic airflow are just a few of the crazy things this Xbox 360 will be getting today. Let's get straight into it. Hey, I'm Tommy and this is technically my childhood Xbox 360. It's a slim model and in contrast to last year's attempt with the Xbox 360e, I can actually RGH 3.0 mod this thing, meaning we can shrink this console and unlock a ton of new features. The plan is to tear it down, install the RGH mod, water cool it and make an awesome case for it, then test out its new features. Well, that was easy.
Those traces don't look severed, but I'm going to test it just to make sure.
Okay, I might have... Well, I don't think I've killed the board, but I'm worried I did a little bit of damage to it. So I'm plugging that in, turning on the controller. Controller's dead. Okay, I partially reassembled the console. Oh, I didn't plug in the HDMI. Okay, that's a relief. This is really going similar to last year's, isn't it?
I'll double check. The HDMI wasn't plugged in all the way. That scared me so much. I thought this project was over.
For the most part, the teardown went surprisingly well despite my lack of dedicated tools. There's less damage than last time, but realistically I have no use for most of these parts. Before we continue, I would like to say thank you to PCBWay who is sponsoring this video. With only a few days remaining for their 7th project design contest, it's your last chance at scoring some of the amazing prizes that they have to offer. They are also the ultimate one-stop shop for anything maker related, whether that's prototypes or full-scale production. They specialize in CNC machining, 3D printing, laser cutting, PCB fabrication and so much more, all with excellent lead and shipping times. To learn more about them, I've left a link in the description. It's now time to RGH mod the console, and while I don't know too much about reset glitch hacks, the core benefits they and this one specifically provides are being able to install games on the hard drive and to play them directly without the bulky optical disk drive. Since I'm increasing the size of this console quite a bit with the few water cooling components, removing unnecessary components is very useful. We can also view system thermals on a custom dashboard, run unassigned code, which is the main one, and a few other things that I don't know enough about to share. To flash RGH onto the Xbox, we need a programmer. Luckily, I picked up a Raspberry Pi Pico, which will do the job nicely. The mod only requires 2 wires to be permanently soldered to the machine, but when flashing it needs a couple more. Now to repair a couple of points, which is done by applying some flux and then fresh solder. This next part is the make or break one. I have to scratch off the coating on the PCB to access the copper trace underneath without breaking a nearby trace. It's pretty small, I hope I can show that well. I'm going to apply some flux to it. Okay, I'm going for it. I don't think it was exposed clean enough. I'm not adhering. Alright, I think that's it. I think we did it. Luckily, the tutorial by Mr. Mario 2011 has been super helpful while doing this process. I've taken off the macro filter and I'm shooting in 6K, but this is a 4K upload. I'm going to zoom in. There, now I'm as far as my camera can go. And now we're going to zoom in digitally, just to see how small this thing is. I'm going to carefully try and add more to it. Okay, I am struggling here. Yeah, I think we got it now. Awesome. I'm going to clean it and give it another go. Maybe my solder is too cold. Did that just work first try? That's it. This one should be super easy in comparison. And it was. That's it. That's the permanent wires done. My workspace is such a mess already, and I've already started damaging my brand new filming mat thingies. I'll have to get some new ones. Okay, let's solder the Pico flasher. Okay, so the tutorial says to connect it to power but not turn it on, so I'm going to do that. Alright, I was told to plug in Pico now, but while holding down... Oh shoot, did I hit the console? The console shouldn't have turned on. Okay, this is the tutorial, and this is my side, so we're doing good so far. That's great. Okay, I'm now going to finally disconnect the Pico from my PC. Alright, I'm now going to turn on the console. Okay, come on. Come on. HDMI is plugged in, right? Yes! Yes, yes, yes! That is amazing. Can you see? I'm so glad. Wow. Okay, we are rolling. Okay. Why am I making such a big deal of this? Well, I thought the console was dead like a good 3 times. It's really stressful, and that makes this 10 times more rewarding. Time to plug the Pico back in again. No signal. That's a bit odd. Alright, if this doesn't work, I don't know what to do. Turning on the power. Turning on the console. I'm honestly so confused. I don't know what to do. Okay, it has been a couple hours because I've been trying to do this slowly, but I've soldered on the new wire. I think that was the issue. Alright, final attempt. I have hope for this one. Yes! Beautiful. And we can boot into Zell Reloaded as well. Awesome. Okay, it should be launching up Aurora. Yes, it is. Awesome. That's a really good sign. Okay, this is a big deal. So this should automatically start up when we restart the console. That's important because I want to remove this front thing. So if I do this, turn off console, and now I turn on the console with the controller, and now we give it a minute. That's so cool. Oh cool, we got a little visual indicator of the temperatures. But of course we want actual degrees, which we will be getting shortly. now going to try and install these games directly on the Xbox's hard drive. A couple didn't work, but so far so good. And just to prove that it still works with the bare minimum, okay, new discovery, it does require this front piece to be on because that establishes the controller connection, which is fair enough. I can live with that. Alright, let's now get started with the water cooling and dynamic cooling stuff. I went with some clear PVC tubes and also wanted to give an all white colour scheme a go. I then jumped into Fusion 360 and started doing a mock-up of the dynamic cooling system. It was pretty cool, and I even made a few animations to go alongside it. You'll shortly see though, there were a couple of flaws. I thought I could bend copper wire to get the shape that I wanted, but it was not possible and led me back to the drawing board, especially since I wanted this mechanism to be reliable compared to my previous ones. Yeah, I'm going to redesign this whole thing with it going a different way. This is too complicated and I've already thought of a much better way to do this. The fins went through 3 different versions, with the second one having a single guide pin and the third revision having 2 guide pins. The mount went through 6 revisions, but I used version 5 in the video since it was more reliable. It would have been fun to keep improving them, but the time crunch was real. The initial code and wiring was a bit problematic, but after a few revisions and tutorials, as well as ChatGPT assistance, it was working responsively and correctly. For now at least. A friend also improved the code, making the movement smoother. And then if we cool it down, what temp is it? There we go. That's so cool. So now you can see the temperatures. So if I do this, they open, and now it's spiked to 70. Now it should turn off now. The full setup isn't too complicated. It's an Arduino Uno, a 10 kilo ohm resistor wired up to a NT3950 thermistor, a bit of code, mainly from ChatGPT, and the vent system. It's really satisfying to watch. Okay, I've been spending a bit too much time trying to work on the case for this thing, so I'm going to start working on the water cooling now, and then we'll go back to the case later. I made this really simple mount for the hard drive so that it doesn't touch the PCB. It's not great, but it'll work for now. Sweet, we've got the water block installed and that is looking really cool. How many times have I said that this video? The water block is nice and secure. It turns out that a dedicated hardline cutting tool is only like $10 online, so that's unfortunate, but at least I know now for the future. Alright, so as you can see, we need to cut a bit of tubing that's about this long for this and this part here. Okay, I made a little mistake and got confused with my own design, but this is meant to mount like that, and the tube is going to come... Well, I can put the CAD on screen and show where the routes are meant to go. Yeah, I'll fix that up now. It's all or nothing here. Power for the console. We're about to find out if it works. Oh, that's so relieving. Wow. I'm just going to downgrade the firmware for the dynamic temp controller. Oh, I don't have any speakers. Oh, this is going to be completely quiet. If I turn off the water cooling, yeah, it goes up quick. That's really unfortunate. I think something's interfering with the Arduino for the dynamic cooling. That's a real shame. Sweet, we got the bow. I'm trying to get to the main opening area as soon as I can, because that's the most beautiful area and hopefully would push the console the most. As for performance, I can't really notice a difference. It seems about the same as before and there's not really anything wrong with that. Oh right, one of the benefits of RGH is apparently fast boot times. I have noticed it's pretty good and pretty consistent, which is pleasing. Wow. On to the next game. Yeah, performance feels pretty similar to before. This is it. Alright, let's move on to the final game. Okay, I've adjusted the code so that now the servo should activate at a much lower temperature, which is good because the temps we're reaching aren't actually that high. It's a bit late to have the idea now, but having the Arduino average out the temperature for 2 or 3 seconds before changing the servo position could actually reduce the amount of errors that we're having. I'm sure you can see in the bottom left corner that it's going pretty crazy. Alright, I have a few things left to say regarding the project before it's time for goodbyes. Most notably, this project was technically a failure. One on my behalf as well. The leak in the radiator was not fixable and the console was bleeding out during the entire gaming montage. Trust me, I've had to buy more paper towels. As for the Arduino stuff, I spent days on the mechanical side of things, so I'm glad that worked, but for the electronics to suddenly get confused during the actual run was a bit upsetting and something I would have liked to have sorted. If I had a bit more time, I'm guessing it was to do with the Waterblock and wiring, so technically the thermistor and wiring. I'm going to apologize though, because although this project did feel like a version 2 compared to my first attempt, it was ultimately less reliable and less capable. I think the console circuit board is still usable though, alongside the other major components, so I will save them just in case for the future. If there's a version 3, it won't be this year, but having an annual project for iterative improvement is something I might consider, since I try to avoid doing series just because of how I like to do things. But I will be thinking over all of this. I would love to know your critical feedback on this project and what you might like to see going forward. It's the best way for me to improve and develop. So I would like to say thank you to all who helped on this build and provided feedback for version 1 as well. I didn't get to use all of the feedback, but I certainly appreciated it. Thank you also to PCBWay for supporting this project. Thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll see you again soon.